Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be making a Helm weave stretch bracelet. You can see that these stretch. They only stretch so much. These are not rubber bands. These are industrial strength rubber O-rings. These are fairly thick ones that we'll be using, and that is because we're doing a beginner project today. So I'm using a little bit larger sizes than I normally use to make these steps very clear and easy to follow if you're just getting started with chainmail. So if you like this video, please be sure to like and follow us. It really helps our channel and we sure would appreciate it. So in order to make this bracelet, I wanted to do this in multicolors. I find it's easiest for people to learn when they can see clearly the next step because the color changes. So I hope that'll be helpful to you. I have lots of different colors in this kit, as you can see. So you can purchase a kit or you can purchase materials separately. All of that is available at beadmeastory.com, so please give us a look and see if there's anything that you'd like to try there. But today I want to do this beginner project in fairly large sizes. This is a project that everyone seems to enjoy and is very fun to learn. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so in order to start this helm weave, I'm using very large rubber O-rings here and very large jump rings. So these are 16 gauge 1/4 inch jump rings. And then I have 15 millimeter O-rings, which is one of the largest sizes that I carry. So this should be very easy for any beginner to master. And basically what we want to do, I went ahead and pre-opened my jump rings just so that it'll be a little bit faster. When you open your jump rings, you want to open them about 1/4 of the way. So this is a little bit further than I normally go, and that's because the 15 millimeter O-rings are a little bit thick, so I wanted to make sure to have enough room to accommodate that. So these, the gray in this instance, are my color A O-rings, and then these three colors that you see up here are my color B. So the color B is going to get sandwiched in between the layers of the color A. And I'll go ahead and get started so that you can see what I mean by this. So the first thing I want to do is take the first jump ring and pick up 4 O-rings. Okay, I like to make sure that the prong of the jump ring gets over the horizon of the O-rings that I'm going around. Okay, so you can see that's over top of it. It's not still sitting on the side here. That'll help you as you go along. The other thing I want to do is I'm using a little bit larger pliers today, and that is so that I can grab more of these jump rings. So since I'm using a 16 gauge jump ring, which is much thicker than I normally use, I want to be able to grab as much of this as possible because these are going to require a little bit more hand strength than an 18 gauge or a 20 gauge. Okay, so I am just closing that jump ring, and then I kind of yank these out so that I have 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. Then I'm going to take my second jump ring. I'm going to pass around 2 of these, and then I'm going to let it pass around the other 2 of these. And then again, I want to make sure that this jump ring goes over the horizon of the last O-ring that I'm passing through. And then when I come in here, I'll just mention that as I close this jump ring, this is not just opening and closing backward and forward. This is going to be, I'm going to use my dominant hand, my right hand, to close this jump ring. So as I do this, basically this left pair of pliers is just holding the jump ring in place, and I'm actually going to be moving in a left-handed direction and forward, and this is going to help me close my jump ring better. And I could hear a click, so when it meets up it makes a little clicking sound. You can either feel it in your hands or you can hear it, and that usually means you're pretty dead on target for getting this jump ring closed. Okay, so now I have 2 on one side, 2 on the other, 2 jump rings in the middle. For my very first row, what I want to do is pick up one of the color B O-rings, and I'm going to squeeze these 2 O-rings together on my right hand side because I'm right-handed, and squeeze them together so that I can pull this O-ring onto here. Okay, and I'll just pull it on, and you can see that this is sitting in the middle. So I'm going to pull the 2 O-rings A that are closest to me towards me, and I'm going to push the 2 that are farther away from me away from me. Now, when I straighten this back out, you can see that that O-ring is sandwiched in between these 2 rows. Okay, and the jump rings are sitting on the inside of this O-ring. Okay, so now with all the rest of the rows except for the very end, when we're going to link the beginning of the bracelet to the end of the bracelet, what I want to do is pick up the next B O-ring, and I'm going to squeeze just the top. So I'm leaving this back one alone, this O-ring. I'm squeezing the top right O-ring together so that I can just pull this on. Okay, and I'm going to leave this here while I start adding on the next row. So to add the next row, I'm going to pass through 2 of these O-rings, and then I'm going to pick up 2 new O-rings. Okay, I'll push that through till it goes over the horizon of the O-ring, and then close my jump ring. Again, just remember, this is not a straight back and forth. This is more of a, you know, if I'm pulling with my left hand, I can pull to the right, and if I'm pushing with my right hand, I can push to the left, and that's going to help these jump rings meet up with each other better. Okay, I'm going to straighten that out. Now again, I'm going to want 2 jump rings in here, so I will take this, pass through 2, pass through the new 2 O-rings that I just added, make sure I'm over the horizon, and come in with my left hand, and you can see this time I'm pulling back, and I'm pulling back to the right, and I let it kind of pass itself and then bring it back. Now you can also feel, I'll just mention this, if you don't see real well, you can always feel to make sure that those jump rings are closed very nicely. Okay, so now what I want to do is, I have this new row added on. I'm going to just lift the top O-ring and squeeze it so that I can now push this B O-ring back into place. Okay, and because the O-rings are stretchy, we can do this. If you're using something else for closed rings, you may not want to do this in this fashion. Okay, so now we have our first color, our second color, and I'm actually using 3 colors in all of these Helm weaves that I'm doing right now. So I'm going to again pull this third color of the B O-rings onto the top. Okay, and then I'll take another jump ring, pass through these 2, pick up 2 new O-rings, make sure to bring my jump ring around enough, and close the jump ring. Then I'll take another jump ring, pass through, and pass through the new 2 O-rings and close. Okay, so we're just going to continue this same way of, I'll fold this up, squeeze it, and push this O-ring on that I put on at the start of this step. Okay, we're going to continue this exact same way until you get to the length that you want this to be, and then I'll show you how to join the starting end to the ending end of the bracelet and just make this all continuous. Okay, so now you can see that I have the full length that I need for this bracelet. So something else that you can see is this starts and ends with the same color, which is not necessarily a good thing. Now there is going to be a color placed in between here. And in this scenario where I went to 14 rows, so if I ended with 13 rows, this would have been an orange and then a pink, and then I could put a kiwi in between. But I've got 14 rows here, and I have orange and pink and orange and kiwi over here. Okay, so I just need to pick between these two. And I think I'm going to choose the pink, but I just wanted to show you that for different sizes, this is not going to necessarily work out exactly with the colors that you need of the orange, kiwi, and flamingo. So you might need to make a decision at the end of what color you want to put in between here, and then it's not going to be exactly right, but this is a multicolor bracelet. I just want you to keep this stuff in mind. So in other words, if I had done this as a rainbow and I had 6 colors going on here, I would really have to look at my size chart carefully before I started to make sure that I could get the pattern of 6 colors in the middle. So you kind of need to do the math ahead of time. But with this scenario, and since we have 3 multicolors, it's really not going to hurt anything if one gets repeated here at the end. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And I'm going to go ahead and open 2 final jump rings to finish this with. Okay. And the color I choose for is just whichever color I prefer of the last 2 that are remaining. So I like pink a lot, so I'm going to use pink. And let me make sure, just want to make sure that as I show you this, so this was our start because we went orange, kiwi, flamingo, and this is our end. So I want to go ahead and bring the end up because I want the right hand side, and I'm just going to squeeze this final sandwiched O-ring in between these 2 color A O-rings. Okay, so the color B needs to sit between these, and then I'm going to take a jump ring and I want to pass it inside the color B O-ring. So I'm not going around it, I'm going in the inside, in the hole of it, and I'm passing through the 2 color A O-rings. And then I just bring the starting end up, and I want to hook this back O-ring through the jump ring. Then what I want to do is I want to bring the jump ring up through the color B O-ring so that this is in the front of my work now, and then I'll just hook this final A O-ring around this jump ring. Okay, so I went through the right hand side through these 2 A O-rings first, and then I grabbed this one while I was underneath this O-ring. I brought the jump ring up through this color B O-ring, and then I hooked it on in the front. Okay, so there's definitely a front and a back with this, and it's not too hard when you start on that right side hooking through those 2 O-rings, but you need to just pay attention to that as you hook this left side in. Okay, and I can pull that out, and you can see that we just have 1 jump ring here, and the last step is just to get this final jump ring through to notice that I'm staying inside this pink O-ring and coming through the back. So I went through this color A O-ring on the front and back, and then I'm going to let my jump ring come around and latch on to these 2 O-rings, but I want to make sure that I stay inside this pink O-ring. Okay, I know that was a lot of chatter. Hopefully visually too this will help you to see where you're going. Okay, and then just bring this up back to the front, and we will close our jump ring. And that is it. Okay, so you'll just stretch this back out. And I will just show you here that I made this one with 1 row smaller, so with 13. So you can see this repeater row that happened here at the end, that this didn't match up because this was 13 rows. This is 14 rows, so this won't work out exactly perfect. But you see, you don't really notice it because it is a multicolor. Okay, so it's okay that we can't repeat the 3 different colors an even number of times, as long as we kind of compensate for it by not putting, you know, the same color twice in a row. That'll work out just fine. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this project. This is a great beginner projects that everyone should know. I tried to do a bunch of different colors in the kits so that we had a lot of variety for you, so that everybody can learn using this large size. And then when you're ready, you can move down to some of the smaller helm weaves that I have done. So there's lots of things that you can do with this particular weave. You can make earrings, pendants, there's variations of the weave. There's all sorts of things you can do. So hopefully you'll have a great time learning to make this. And please be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. And of course, all of the supplies that you see here, as well as kits to make these, are available at beadmeastory.com. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.